How significant do you feel like this change is to ban the Confederate flag, not just for NASCAR, but for all of sports?
Well, I think it's very, very significant because we're not talking about just a movement. We're talking about real actionable change that took place. And we need to give major props to Bubba Wallace for what he ultimately ended up facilitating and ultimately, ultimately accomplishing. Because I think that what happens is that when you have recognition by a sport so significant as NASCAR, to recognize the history and how it's had an insidious effect on a disenfranchised community in this country, and it gave the impression that everybody ain't welcome. The fact that you've gotten rid of this Confederate flag, and that's not a banner that you're gonna see hanging from anywhere. I think it's not just about the symbol, as Max pointed out earlier. It's about action that comes along with that. So that kind of action can lead to other doors opening, other doors of opportunity, other doors of inclusion. Obviously, you're not keeping anybody at bay or denying folks opportunities. It's going to open the floodgates. I think this action is going to preempt a lot of things that are going to come down the line, and that's the kind of action that we're talking about here. It's not just a symbol; it's an actual action that took place, and I think it leads to greater things down the line that are more inclusionary for us all in this mosaic that we call the United States of America, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, Bubba Wallace deserves enormous credit because what he did was politic, basically, with drivers, with fellow competitors, and talk to them and open their eyes. And that had to take place over time, and that had to be done just right, because how could you not feel indignant about it, and yet you don't want to shut people down. You want to get them to open. You want to get them open. You want to get them to open, because if someone's open and they hear what's happening, there's no way for them to keep the same opinion, really. They have to change. And of course, the situation was right. The climate is right for change. Now, obviously, these are very, very unusual times, but he deserves enormous credit. I'll say NASCAR's changed considering the perception of NASCAR. And probably the reality, I don't know a whole lot about NASCAR, but the reality from when I speak to people who do, is that they would do this now. We could talk about a long time coming, it's way overdue, and be negative about it for sure, and be legitimate. But it makes me more interested in NASCAR. I want it, like, by the way, Alvin Kamara, right? Like, he's into it. Because when you see something that you believe is hardened against but it changes, there's no way not to feel good about that, even if you have reservations about the history and how long it took. So I would say it's a very good change for NASCAR, and in their best interest, they're going to make more new fans than they'll lose old ones.
Look, this is why it's significant to me, because, look, sports, no matter what they are, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, NASCAR, is about making money. It's about business. It's about the bottom line. And NASCAR was willing to say this: we are willing to take the risk of having it affect our bottom line in the name of promoting racial equality and putting some action behind our statements. We're willing to take whatever hit is going to come to our bottom line, because we are going to inevitably tick off a certain portion of our fan base, whatever percentage that is, that right now is up in arms over the fact that they cannot fly those flags that you keep seeing go across the screen right here at these races. And there are people who are going to now boycott NASCAR and aren't going to buy their merchandise and aren't going to buy their memorabilia and aren't going to support the drivers simply because NASCAR said we're not going to fly a symbol that stands for everything that this country is not supposed to stand for. Everything, and they are willing to go ahead and accept whatever ramification that means for their bottom line. And I'll tell you what, I mean, is that not what we heard going back to Colin Kaepernick as to why he wasn't being signed, was because he was quote unquote bad for business? NASCAR was willing to say, this may be bad for business, but it's also the right thing to do. That is the kind of action we're talking about. That is putting your money where your mouth is, so to speak. Because money may be coming out of their pockets overall, because they're you know there are people right now who aren't happy about it. But NASCAR is saying, we don't care. We don't care.
Okay.
We're going to do the right thing.
No question.
That's why it's significant for everyone else to see if they're willing to follow their lead.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.